Joining me now is Republican Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. I have to start with the words just written by your border colleague, the Republican senator from the state of Tennessee, Bob Corker, who called the president an utterly untruthful president. Is President Trump a liar, Senator?
Well, I don't think these comments by Senator Corker are helpful at all. The other thing that he said this morning was that the luncheon meeting was going to be nothing more than a photo op. I actually expect it to be quite substantive. We had a good victory last week. We are likely to have a very positive step over in the House this week when they pass the budget that the Senate has already passed. And so I view it as a coming together in terms of our plans to actually fill in the details and get the tax cut actually passed by both houses and sent to the president's desk. So I would take issue with Senator Corker in that respect also. This should be a lot more than a photo op today.
Yeah, it's an awkward coming together with Senator Corker calling the president untruthful, President Trump saying that Senator Corker couldn't get elected dog catcher. As I said, if the idea is to come together, that's a tough place to start. But on the substance of this, also, Republican Congressman Charlie Dent said of the president that he can shift on a dime on policy matters, and he has many unformed policy positions. We have to worry about him shifting positions. So I ask you, Senator Wicker, do you know exactly where the president stands on the details of these tax cuts?
Oh, on the details of the tax cuts, I think it's important that we not negotiate the details in public through the media. But I think that the bones, the outline of the tax cuts are there. We want to cut the corporate rate because we want to be competitive internationally. Europe, corporate tax rates about 18.5%. Asia about 20%. So we need to get competitive in terms of our job creators, and then we need to give the American middle-class taxpayers a little jingle in their pockets and more take-home pay. So the outlines are there, and we will start talking about details, I think, with the president today.
For instance, do you know whether or not the president would support keeping a 39% tax rate on people making more than $1 million a year? And these are more than just details. This is the actual tax cut. Do you know whether he supports that?
I don't know that, and I'll tell you what, I am going to decline to negotiate details of the tax cut through the media. I think that'll be done. I think we'll have a big step toward that today.
Understood.
With the luncheon with the president. I think it's going to be largely positive, 99.9% positive and constructive, and I think it's going to get us closer to the point we all want to have, which is a tax bill on the president's desk by Thanksgiving.
That's ambitious. We wish you the best of luck on that, and we'll talk to you again after perhaps this lunch to get a sense of what was discussed. If I can ask you one more purely political question, Senator, that has to deal with your own re-election race. How do you feel about Steve Bannon?
Well, listen, I'm going to depend on the people of the state of Mississippi. I've been elected a number of times in the 1st Congressional District and twice statewide. I'm running hard. I expect it to be a competitive race, and my wife and my family and I are prepared to work hard, and right now we think we're in a good position to win.
And it doesn't bug you.
That's basically all I'm prepared to say.
It doesn't bug you that Steve Bannon wants you to lose?
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to get a unanimous vote, but I'm going to run on my accomplishments for the state of Mississippi, which are lengthy, and also happy to be ranked first in the Senate in support of President Trump at this point, with 96% support of the president's positions in terms of our vote. So I'm willing to run on my record, and I think we'll be fine.
Senator, if I can ask you to stay with us for just one moment, because you're part of the Armed Services Committee, and we want to ask you about Niger. But first, I'm going to get our viewers a bit of an update on some of the developments there. This morning, we're getting new details on the deadly attack on the U.S. troops in Niger. The Pentagon revising its timeline, vowing transparency. Michelle Kaczynski is live in Washington with more. Michelle.
Hi, John. Right. So we had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs obviously feeling like he needed to come out and answer questions. In fact, making a point to take all of the questions and repeatedly saying that the public is owed more information. Still, though, there were so many questions that he could not answer, and some basic ones, too, like where exactly were these troops when they started taking fire? Were they wearing body armor? We're now 3 weeks from when this happened.
America's top general providing some answers, but not many, detailing a revised timeline of the ambush in Niger that killed 4 American troops.
We owe you more information. More importantly, we owe the families that have fallen more information.
October 3rd, 12 members of a U.S. Special Operations Task Force leave the capital of Niger with 30 Nigerian troops. Their goal, a reconnaissance mission in a village about 53 miles north.
The assessment by our leaders on the ground at that time was that contact with the enemy was unlikely.
But the next day, on their way back to the capital, mid-morning, they came under fire by around 50 local fighters with ties to ISIS, carrying small arms, machine guns, and rocket-propelled grenades. The Special Forces team engaged in a firefight for about an hour before requesting help. Within minutes, a U.S. drone was overhead. French jets were scrambled, but took another hour to arrive to the remote location.
I don't know that they thought they needed support prior to that time. I don't know how this attack unfolded. I don't know what their initial assessment was of what they were confronted with.
The French did not drop bombs. U.S. officials said Friday the pilots had the authority, but could not readily identify enemy forces and did not want to risk hitting U.S. or Nigerian allies. It was evening by the time the French could evacuate the injured and bodies of the dead Americans. But it remains unclear how Sergeant LaDavid Johnson became separated from the group and why it took 2 days to locate his body about a mile away.
Did the mission of U.S. forces change during the operation? Did our forces have adequate intelligence, equipment, and training? Was our pre-mission assessment of the threat in the area accurate?
Some of the details to come out were surprising. For example, this was not a 30-minute or so firefight. This was several awful hours, starting in mid-morning and not ending until the evening. John?
All right, Michelle Kaczynski, thanks so much for that report. Back with me now, Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi, who serves on the Armed Services Committee. And Senator, I simply want to ask you, we heard Michelle's report. You're going to get a classified briefing as a member of the Armed Services Committee. As you sit here today, what's the #1 question you have on this deadly ambush in Niger?
Well, I agree with General Dunford, and I think General Dunford is certainly the right man for this position. The American people need more information. The elected representatives of the American people in the Congress need more information, and I think we're going to get that. It does seem at first blush that these troops may have thought they had the situation under control, and then only about an hour later realized that it had gotten out of hand. So, but we'll find. There's no sense of me speculating. There will be tough questions, and I think the generals that and the officers that were close by and monitoring the situation have a duty to be forthcoming, and I think they will be. I think the facts will come out, and the American people can judge.
Senator Roger Wicker, Mississippi, thanks so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.